Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of the book of Proverbs, Sefer Mishlei. We are in Perek Chet, that is chapter 8. We are doing the second half of chapter 8 together today. We're starting with verse number 20. In this chapter, the sage, the father figure, the mentor, is telling his sons / students / disciples why the path of Chachma, the path of wisdom, which in Mishlei has been equated with the path of Torah, the path of teachings, the teachings of God, the teachings of our people, of our tradition, Torah Simecha, the teachings of your mother, Musar Avicha, the discipline of your father. Following along this path of wisdom rather than the path of pride, the path of jealousy, the path of anger, the path of taking things away from others and taking advantage of others is the right path. In other words, he's describing the benefits of this path. He's telling you how beautiful the path is. And at verse 20, it kind of starts in the middle and he's continuing to talk about it and has some really beautiful thoughts, many of which are also quite famous for obvious reasons. So let's start with verse 20. Bi'orach tzedakah ahalech, I will go on the path of tzedakah and righteousness. Now remember, I here is wisdom herself speaking. Wisdom is speaking. Wisdom is the speaker here. So wisdom is saying, I, wisdom, will go on the path of righteousness. This is presenting an argument that Chachma itself, wisdom itself, leads one to conclude that the right way to go is the path of righteousness. It's not just because it's good or because God said so or because it's the right thing to do, but it's the wise thing to do. Betoch netivot mishpat. The paths that I take, I walk along the paths of justice. Those two terms, tzedek umishpat, justice and righteousness, are really the central themes of the entire Torah, the entire Hebrew Bible, repeatedly over and over again throughout the prophets. From Genesis on, we find the emphasis on tzedek umishpat, justice and righteousness. Lianchil ohavai yesh, because I will endow those who love me with yesh, with something real. Yes, it's true, you might go down the path of those people that try to convince you to sit with them on the side of the road and take advantage of others, right? They might, sometimes here and there win some spoils and get some good things, or what seems fleetingly good at least. But what I am going to be is manchil. I am going to endow you, inherit to you something which is yesh, something which is real, something which is meaningful. V'yotzroseim amale, and I will fill up those that follow me. I will fill up their treasure stores with full of all kinds of wonderful things. And then Chachma says something remarkable. Wisdom says something remarkable. When God created the world, right, there was a plan to the world. There was rules. We would call them now, we would equate them with the rules of science, the rules of physics, the rules of chemistry, the rules of biology, all of the rules which the world follows, which creates the universe that we see in front of us today. When God created the universe, He did it with wisdom. There was a plan. Things were supposed to work in certain ways, right? And of course, in our tradition, the Torah reflects this wisdom as well. These two things, the Torah plus wisdom, which are really one thing in the book of Mishlei, was the wisdom with which the world was established. Adonai kanani reishis darko. God established me in the beginning of His path. When God set on the path to create the world, He used wisdom in order to create the world. So I am the basis, the foundation upon which the world runs. Kedem mifalav me'az. Before He went and created his creations, His works, before all of the things, before the universe came about, and the galaxies and the solar systems and the planets and the moons and the earth and everything that we see on it, right? Kedem, before that, there was wisdom. There was the underlying wisdom behind it all. The underlying wisdom preceded it all. Me'olam nisachti me'rosh. I was created, I was nisachti, is the language of pouring metal and creating a metal form, right? I was poured, right, before the world, in the beginning, mikad me'aretz, before the land was created. The rules, the laws, the wisdom with which the world was created was around before the actual universe existed. Be'ein tahomos cholalti, before there were depths of the sea. Be'ein mayanos nichbade mayam, before there were springs that were full of bubbling water. B'terem harim atba'u, before the mountains were planted in the ground. Lifnei givaos cholalti, before the hills, I was born. I came to be. Ad lo asa eretz v'chutzos, I'm at verse 26 now. Before the land and all the fields, v'rosh afros tevel, and before the big clumps of dirt with which the tevel, which with the earth was made. Ba'achino shemayim sham'ani, when he was preparing and setting out the heavens, the universe, the stars, the galaxies, right, the solar systems and everything. Sham'ani, I was there. The Wisdom preceded it all. With wisdom, it all was created. Bechuko chug al pnei tehom. When he went ahead and laid the chug, the horizon, at the edge of the deep, the edge of where we can see until the edge of where it all ends, before he set all that up, I was there. When he strengthened the heavens above really strong, all the way up there, ba'azoz inos tahom, when the inos, or from the language of Ma'yan, when the springs of the deep just sprung forth with strength. Besumo layam chuko, when he gave the sea its rules, and he said, the sea, you go to here, right? Umayim lo yavru piv, the water will not disobey his command. When God said, the sea, you go up to here, that's where the sea goes up to. It doesn't invade the land. People in ancient times always assumed that the sea was constantly trying that with the waves to overcome the land, but God said, no, this is where the sea ends. We find this throughout the Tanakh, and we find it throughout Chazal, through the words of the sages, and in many other places. B'chuko mos te'aretz, he gave that command when, with his laws, with his rules, he established the earth with certain rules and laws. This is the way it goes. These are the laws of nature. Land here, sea there. V'eheyeh etzlo amon, and I was with him as an amon, as someone he can rely upon, right? The wisdom with which he created the world, the laws, the scientific laws, the moral and ethical laws of the Torah. I was with him as a trusted confidant from the beginning. And I was with him as a source of delight day after day. Shashuim is the kind of delight, he usually refers to the kind of delight one has with a young child sitting on his lap or her lap and just enjoying the wonder and the beauty of a young child, the innocence. Misachekes lefanav b'chol eitz, I was always happy and laughing before God all the time. Misachekes b'tevel artzo, I was so happy with the creation of Tevel, of all of the land in front of us, all of the earth in front of us. V'sha'ashu ayes b'nei adam, and I found so much delight when he created human beings, because human beings were finally able to actualize and experience all of this wonderful creation. People were able to choose to follow me, follow the path of wisdom. This is verse 31. This is the end in the Masoretic text, in the Jewish chapter. But we're going to finish chapter 8, because in the Christian numberings, and the one that most people have in front of them, this continues for several verses. Why they didn't end here, I don't know, but it's a whole subject that some people spent a lot of time figuring out. But here we're going to continue. V'at tavonim, now my sons, shimuli, listen to me. V'ashrei derachai yishmoru, and happy are those who guard my ways, who keep them close and are careful to stay on my proper paths. Shimu musar. Listen, in other words, now that I have told you all of the greatness and wonder and beauty of following the right path, following the path of wisdom and the path of Torah, right? Listen to me and do it. And remember that praiseworthy is he who follows my ways. Shimu musar. Listen to discipline. When people criticize you, listen, pay attention. Don't brush it away because it's too hard, it's too difficult, it's too painful. It's easier just to stay on the path that I'm going. Vachachamu, and be intelligent, be smart. Ve'al tifra'u, don't tear yourselves away from this path. Ashrei adam shomei ali. Praiseworthy is the person who listens to me wisdom. Lishkod al dosai yom yom, to constantly knock on my door when you have questions, when you have issues. Knock on my door until you find the answer. Look towards wisdom to find the answer. Lishmar mezuzos pesachai. Hang out at my doorways. Hang out where I am so that you can find the answer from me. Why? Ki motzei motzachayim. She who finds me, or he who finds me, motzachayim, finds life. Vayofek ratzon me'adonai. And he will find true ratzon, the true desire, the true will of God that God wants, and he will try and find the true will from God, because God made the world in such a way that if you really want to experience him, you have to experience it through wisdom. But they who miss me, they who, it could mean sin before me, or it could mean more likely here it means from the language of chet, which means to miss, like to aim improperly with when you're shooting an arrow, is to miss the target. They who miss me, in other words, they go in other directions. They try to explain things without wisdom. They try to explain things with nonsense, with conspiratorial nonsense, which is designed to fulfill their own needs and desires, to see the world they want to see the world for their own benefit. Such people, chomeis nafsho, they are destroying their own souls. Kol misanai, and all those who hate me, who hate true wisdom, avu maves, what they really love is death itself. And this ends chapter 8, even though in the Jewish tradition, the parsha does not end here, but rather it ends at the end of chapter 9, which we will learn next time. Chapter 9, also a famous one. I look forward to studying chapter 9 with you. Thank you so much for studying this together with me today. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day full of wisdom, full of sha'ashu, and full of happiness, joy, and delight. Thank you.